A virtual tour of the Palmdale Water Reclamation Plant. I'm Basil Hewitt with the Sanitation Districts, and we have John Dahl, a civil engineer in charge of our Palmdale and Lancaster plant, and Janine Gonzalez, operator for the Palmdale plant. So before I turn it over to John and Janine, I want to give you some context. Who are the sanitation districts? The sanitation districts, we were formed in 1923. We were formed with a law called the Sanitation Districts Act was passed in 1923, and we were tasked to collect and treat wastewater. This is an actual shot in the South Bay in LA County, raw sewage going into the beach. And back in the 20s, life expectancy in LA County was on average about 50 to 55 years of age. And people realized one of the easiest ways to increase life expectancy is to collect this raw sewage and treat it so it doesn't impact the rivers, the ocean, and ultimately our quality of life. So we were formed in 1923, and our initial districts were in the South Bay, Manhattan Beach, Torrance, and so on. From those humble beginnings, we now have 24 sanitation districts. We serve 24 sanitation districts as far north as Lancaster, and John will give us a tour of the Lancaster plant next week, what we call District 14, and as far south as Long Beach. Overall, with our 24 sanitation districts, we serve about 5.5 million people. 78 of the 88 cities in LA County. We provide wastewater collection and treatment service. We also handle solid waste for manage about 20% or 1/5 of LA County sanitation district. And I want to talk about one of the organizational structure of the sanitation district. Each sanitation district has its own board of directors. So let's look at District 20, which is where the Palmdale plant is at. If you can see my cursor. Each sanitation district is based on drainage areas. So we want the sanitation districts, the properties that land in that area, to flow by gravity to one of our treatment plants. And so it's not based on political boundaries, based on drainage area. So in sanitation districts, for example, you have, most of it is the city of Palmdale, but you also have unincorporated LA County in that footprint of Sanitation District 20, which serves Palmdale. So our board of directors for that district is the mayor of Palmdale, a city council person from Palmdale, and representative from LA County Board of Supervisors. And that process occurs for every sanitation district. If there's 4 or 5 cities in that district, then there's a representative of each city on that board of directors. So you have local control, but yet you have the buying power of a larger agency. So out of the 24 sanitation districts, we have 11 wastewater treatment plants. Our initial wastewater treatment plant is in Carson. Our first one came online in 1928. We call it the Joint Water Pollution Control Plant, or JWPCP. Today, we're going to focus on the Palmdale plant that you see here in the Antelope Valley. We also have a couple of treatment plants in Santa Clarita. So this will be the focus of today's virtual tour. And what makes the Palmdale plant, as well as the Lancaster Water Reclamation Plant, uniquely challenging? Of our 11 wastewater treatment plant, these 2 in the Antelope Valley are the biggest challenge, because the other 9 wastewater treatment plant, we try to recycle the water, but if we don't have takers for that recycled water, we can put it into a river or an ocean. Well, the Lancaster and Palmdale plant, there's no river or ocean nearby, and everything flows towards Edwards Air Force Base. And if you can see this aerial shot, you can see the closed basin. So that means that every drop of water that comes into this plant has to be accounted for, either by recycling or storage. And it makes the operation and the management of the Palmdale plant, as well as Lancaster plant, uniquely challenging. With that, I'm going to turn it over to John, and he's going to talk to you more about the Palmdale Water Reclamation Plant.
Thank you, Basil. I appreciate the introduction. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen here with you guys. And I should be unmuted. You guys see the screen okay? Yes?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, so we'll start the tour here. I just want to thank you very much for spending your Saturday morning with us here in the for the virtual tour. It's a beautiful day. And I just want to mention that this tour is for you guys. So if anything comes up, any questions or anything along the way, please ask. We love answering questions. We love the interaction. And we want you to get the most out of it. So please ask if anything comes up. So I'll start out with this. So what is wastewater? As you can see here in this video, if I can get it started. There we go. Oh, maybe not. A little technical difficulty. There we go. All right, now we're rolling. Wastewater is commonly thought of as like, something that comes from the toilet, but as you can see in this picture, it also comes from the shower or the bathtub, and then you got this person that's brushing her teeth. So there's many different vectors, if you will, that contribute to wastewater. Not only our homes, but also businesses, industrial contributions, things like that contribute to the wastewater treatment plant. All right, so, there we go. All right, so here we go. How does sewage get to a treatment plant? Well, as you can see, you have businesses and homes, and we got pipes or smaller pipes that lead to your local sewer. And the local sewer is located in the street, and it's below the street, and they're connected by these manholes that you see on the lower left part of your graphic here. And then from there, it's conveyed over to trunk sewer and then onto a wastewater treatment plant. And so here's a video of the Palmdale water reclamation plant. A little overview. So this plant started in 1953, and the original amount of water treated was 0.75 MGD. MGD is a unit of flow, which stands for million gallons per day. So just to put a visual in your mind what an MGD looks like, if you take 140 garden hoses and they flow them all at once, that's 1 MGD. That's 1 MGD. And so today, Palmdale treats about 10 MGD on average. All right. So start you guys off in the control room. This is an operator here holding an iPad. He's looking at a screen. So if you look at the screen itself, you can see different colors on the screens, red and green and blue and black. So the red means the pumps or the mechanical equipment is off. Green means that it's on. These are actually pumps that are depicted here now. And this is a DCS system, distributed control system. It's a way that an operator can control the plant from one room in the plant itself without having to go out to the pump and flip a switch and turn it on or off or anything like that. You can also monitor the entire plant system from this DCS system and see if there's anything that may be starting to go a little in a direction they don't want it to, or maybe need to make some adjustments at this point. The iPad that you see the operator holding there is used for their rounds. So 2 times a day, an operator will walk around the plant and collect data, whether it be flow, temperature, pressure, whatever it may be. He'll collect it on this iPad and he'll bring it back to the control room and they'll download it into a database. And then from there, we can kind of monitor any trends or any changes or anything like that that may be happening in the system. All right, so here's a schematic of the Palmdale water reclamation plant. And so basically in this tour, we're going to kind of follow the water through, and we'll talk about each of these systems as we go through it. So the first part is our primary system. We're going to talk about that. Oh, by the way, I want to mention that there's 3 main mechanisms that are used to treat water, and that's physical, biological, and chemical. So as we go through these systems, just think about what type of mechanism is being used to clean the water. All right, so we'll go to the primary. All right, so I'll bring you to the inflow pumps. So because the Antelope Valley is very flat and we gravity flow water to the plant, the pipes enter the plant at about 25, 30 feet below grade. And so we have to pump that water up to the surface so we can begin treating it. And what you see on your right-hand side are inflow pumps. Now, each of these pumps are rated at about 100 horsepower, and they each pump about 10 MGD. Now, you may remember that earlier I mentioned that the plant treats an average of 10 MGD, and we have 5 pumps there total. You only see 4 of them in the picture, but we have 5 of them. Now, the plant has a lot of redundant systems throughout the plant itself, and we do that so that way if a pump goes offline, we could continue operating normally until we repair it and put it back online. So the water's pumped above grade, and then the first part of the treatment is the screening structure, as you see here. And the purpose of the screening structure is to remove large objects from the water. And we'll get a close-up of the screen itself. Here's our flex rate. And so what happens is the water flows through this flex rate, and we've got a graphic here. It kind of shows, a side view. You can see the water kind of flowing to the right, and then the flex rate kind of captures these larger objects, conveys them up. And then in this graphic, it drops it down into a conveyor belt, but we actually use a washer compactor at this particular plant. And here's what that washer compactor looks like. So it gets dropped into that bin that you see here, and then gets compacted and pushed out to the right. And so here's what it looks like. And as you can see, there's a lot of rags in here. And we want to mention that, as you see, it's public service announcement. We don't want to put flushable wipes down into the toilet. And the reason why is because they don't disintegrate. If you look on the right, you can see that that the flushable wipe from February 2018 is still intact, but the toilet paper on the left is all broken up. And so what happens is flushable wipes is that they get into our sewer systems and they kind of bind up together. They can clog the sewer system. They create a lot of issues. And those inflow pumps that you saw earlier, what happens is that these flushable wipes can get in there and clog them up. Then we have to pull the pump out. We have to clean the pump and also possibly rebuild the pump and put it back into service. And so this is an additional load or additional cost on your wastewater treatment plant. And so we want to avoid these costs if we can, because obviously those costs get passed on to our customers, which is you. And so if we could limit the amount or minimize the amount of flushable wipes that we put down the sewer system, that would be very helpful. Also, let me ask you this question. Maybe somebody else, or maybe somebody out there knows this, but what else should we not put down into the sewer system? Anybody want to hazard a guess? No guesses?
Someone said toys.
Toys, yes.
Sanitary items from Jackie.
Right, plastics. Sometimes you see a little, those energy drinks. Sometimes we see those get flushed down.
Feminine care products.
Yep, yep, all those things. So how you dispose those is you put them in the trash, and you can get rid of them that way. Another item you don't want to flush down is medications. You don't want to put medications down into your wastewater treatment plant. Anybody have idea how we dispose of medications, expired medications, or medications you no longer use? No guesses? Okay, so
Actually, Jackie says bring them to a site.
yeah, if you're talking like a pharmacy, will take them.
Or our household hazardous waste sites.
Yes, yes, yes. Do you want to talk a little bit about the hazardous waste collection?
Yeah, sure. Actually. So I thought you'd never ask. So yeah, we have, by the way, hi, I'm Genesis. So we have in a household hazardous and electronic waste events actually that are located throughout LA County. And so in Palmdale, we actually have one at the AVEC Center, which I can't pull up the address right now, but pretty much anything that's too toxic to trash, as we like to say, you can take it to one of our household hazardous waste centers for free. So whether that's pharmaceuticals, fluorescent light tubes, batteries, monitors, old cell phones, all of that, you can take it to one of our locations. And the one in Palmdale is actually open every first and third Saturday of the month. And it's at the AVEC Center. And once I have the address, I will put it in the chat. But anyway, back to you.
Hey, so Genesis, one question. How much does it cost to dispose of hazardous waste at these locations?
It is absolutely free. All you need to do is drive up to the site and we'll take it from there.
Awesome. Yeah.
We'll take it straight from your trunk. Like, you don't even need to get off your car. We'll just take it from there.
Wow, that's yeah, it's perfect. You drive up, pop your trunk, they take it out, and then you can drive off. Awesome. Thank you for that. All right, so continue on the tour. The next step in the process is the grit, what we call the grit chambers. We have a little video here. So the purpose of grit chambers is just as the name indicates, to remove grit. So if you remember at the beginning, we showed a picture of the bathroom and a shower, right? So if you shower, you do laundry, you can get grit in the water. And the purpose of the grit chamber is to remove that grit. The reason why we remove the grit at this stage is that we want to protect downstream equipment. So this grit is it's very sandy and abrasive. And so I guess, so an analogy I like to use is if you have a bicycle with a bicycle chain, you don't put sand in your bicycle chain because that would destroy your bicycle chain and your sprockets. And so that's the reason why we remove grit at this stage, so that we protect our downstream equipment. As you saw from the video, the water moves fairly quickly. We just want to settle out the small dense particles at this stage, and then carry the water on further on down the treatment system. And so, as you can probably tell, this is a physical process that we're doing at this stage. All right, so next is a primary tanks. So this is where we slow the water way down, and we get stuff to float, and we get stuff to sink. So we want to do that so we can kind of start to separate out items that are in the wastewater that we receive. So you can see this overview of the primary tanks. So these down here, you can kind of see some boards along here. Now these boards are called launders, and they run on the top of the water and then also on the bottom of the water. They go very, very slowly, and they collect everything that floats and everything that sinks. And that's collected and then transported over to the digesters for further processing. And I have let's see, here it is. Yes. So I have a picture of a primary tank that's empty here. And at the bottom, you can see the launders here. You see some chains along here, chain of flight system, same above here. And right now the maintenance is doing some work to it. They're doing some maintenance work to this particular channel to keep it running. All right, so, and I think I have a graphic also, and I do, here it is. All right, so here you can see a graphic where the collection system's collecting sludge on the bottom, and then it's also collecting the top, and then all that sludge that you see here is then collected and transported to the digesters for further processing. And we'll show you pictures of digesters and talk about that here in a few minutes. One thing I want to mention is that when people think about wastewater, they think, oh, it's yucky and disgusting and so on and so forth. But it's really not the water itself that's disgusting. It's what's in the water that's not, that we want to remove or that we don't like. And so the process of the wastewater treatment plant is to remove all that stuff out of the water, and at the end to get clean water, clean usable water that we continue using for other sources. So water is obviously a valuable resource, and we want to recover it and use it. Water is just a conveyor. It just transports our waste to the plant where we can then treat it, remove it, and then reuse the water. So this is the gallery down by the primary tanks. And on the right, you can see like a placard here. This is tank 6 that you see here. Down below, you see a pipe, and that is where sludge is being collected from one of the tanks. And so these pipes then convey the sludge over to the digesters, as I previously mentioned. Okay, so next we'll go to the secondary treatment process here. And this is the biological treatment. So this is considered the heart of the treatment plant process. And as you can see here, there are some tanks that have that are kind of bubbling or aerated, and some that are not. The reason why you see this is because we use a process called the NDN process, the nitrification denitrification process, to remove dissolved waste in the wastewater. So one thing I'll mention, at this stage, we have done all of our physical processes that we could, and now what we have is dissolved waste in the water. And so to remove this dissolved waste, we employ microbes to go in and eat the waste. And so we have a variety of microbes that go in and they'll eat the waste and remove the waste from the water itself. So they pull it out for us. Now on this NDN process, we we have some tanks that are aerated and some are not, because we're trying to promote growth of certain types of microbes that do certain type of work. So we want to nitrify our ammonia, then denitrify it, and then eventually turn it into nitrogen, or convert it into nitrogen gas to where it's no longer a environmental issue at all. And so the water spends about 4 hours in this process. And I believe I have a graphic of it. There we go. You can see the activated sludge come on in. The microbes are in there, and we're aerating them so they can, and there's a picture of a microbe itself. And here you see a person in the lab technician looking at the microbes. And so you can look at the microbes and actually tell the health of your sludge just by seeing the microbes themselves, see what kind of variation you have. You want many different types of microbes in your wastewater treatment plant, because there's many different types of waste that the plant receives, and you want those microbes to eat those waste. An analogy I commonly use is like at a buffet, right? So if we all go to a buffet, we all like different things. Some people like pizza, some people like salad, and we'll gravitate to those types of food. Well, these microbes will gravitate to the types of waste that they like first, and they'll eat that up. And so if we have a variety of microbes in there, then we can get all our waste taken out of the waste stream. All right, so after the microbes have done their work, we want to settle them out of the treatment process themselves. And so this is the secondary settling basin that we're looking at here. It's very much like the primary settling basin, except we're trying to settle out microbes. And here's the inside view of the tank. As you can see, it's very similar to the primary tanks that you saw earlier. You got the chain of flight system. You got these boards. They go on the top of the they go on the top of the water, and then also underneath, and they collect the microbes. And here you can see the water's being skimmed off. So in the secondary settling basin, just like the primary settling basin, we slow the water way down. We want these microbes to settle out. And lucky for us, they're just a little bit heavier than water. And so we settle them out, and we slowly scalp the water off the top, and from there out. And as you can see, it just even at this stage of the process, the water is fairly clean. And here's a picture of the water that has been skimmed out of the secondary settling tanks. All right, so the microbes that are taken out are then sent over to these DAFs, the dissolved air flotation units right here. And the purpose of the DAFs are to remove the excess water. So from here, after this point, then they go to the digesters. And so we want to remove the excess water because we don't want to take up space in our digesters with that water. We want to be able to use all the space we have for treating the microbes. And here's the digester itself, and you can see a video of the bacteria that are feeding on the solids in the lower left-hand corner there. And you see a lot of pipes in the digesters. These pipes serve different purposes. Some are conveying sludge to the digesters. Some are conveying sludge out. Some are collecting gas like methane that's produced, and that methane is then reused in our boilers to then reheat the digesters. So we keep the digesters at about 98 degrees. and that helps digest the solids that we collect. All right, so after the digesters, then the sludge is sent to the dewatering building where it is dewatered. There's two reasons why we do this, or two purposes. The first purpose is to reduce the volume. So by removing the water, reduce the volume. The second reason why we do this is that water is weight. And so we got to transport the solids out. And we don't want to pay hauling costs for hauling water out. We only want to haul out the solids. And so here's a video on how the dewatering centrifuge works. You see the water, the sludge enters on the right, and then it goes on down. It's spun really, really fast. Kind of think of it as like your washing machine on spin cycle. It's very similar to that, except it spins it very, very fast. And then the solids are pushed out to the front, and then the water to the right. Now, the water that comes out is called centrate, and then that's pumped back to the front of the plant for additional processing. All right, so then the biosolids are then collected and stored at our 40th Street property that you see over here. You see the piles of biosolids that are stored there, and they're stored there for a period of time, and then eventually they're hauled off and they're composted, as you can see here. So it's beneficially reused. All right, so next we're going to go on to the tertiary part of the treatment plant. And here we have the equalization basin. Got a video of it here. And that's a 5 million gallon tank. And so the purpose of the equalization basin is to, just as the name says, to equalize the flow. So the wastewater treatment plant typically sees highs and lows of water coming into the plant itself. So throughout the day, it'll go up, and in the evening, it'll go down. And it's all based off of human activity. So like during the day, people get up to take showers, eat breakfast. They're being very active, getting ready for work. And so then we'll see an uptick of water coming in. And then later on the day, where everybody's at work and out, then we may see the water kind of go down, and then it maybe go back up again when they come home, and then they're taking showers or eating dinner or things like that. So you're going to see the water go up and down. Now, the secondary equalization basin, what it does is that it serves two purposes. One purpose is that it can be an emergency storage. So if we have an issue on the back half of the plant where something breaks and we need to store water temporarily while we do a repair, we can have this basin as a fail-safe, if you will, to store water for us. The second reason is to smooth out that flow. So rather than having that flow kind of go up and down, now we can have a steady flow of water going through the second half of the plant. And the reason why we want to do that is that so when we do disinfection, we'll want to disinfect it to a certain point, and we want to maintain that disinfection. And so if the water is going up and down, we're always kind of chasing it and falling around. But if it's steady state, then we can kind of zoom in on it, and that'll help save money and chemical costs, and it'll make it a little bit easier for the operators to operate the plant. So I got a quick question for you guys. What do you think is the busiest day, or the day that we get the most flow at the wastewater treatment plant?
All right, we got Jackie and Juan saying Super Bowl Sunday, and Lily saying holidays.
Yes. So there's two big days for us. One big day is Thanksgiving, and as you know, families get together. You're doing a lot of cooking, a lot of activity, and so we see a lot of a higher amount of flow during that day. And also Super Bowl, we do see a lot of action, a lot of flow during Super Bowl. In fact, you can even kind of tell when it's halftime, because we'll see a little uptick in flow during halftime during the Super Bowl.
What about Mondays? Barbara asked.
Yeah, so that's a good question. I would think that Mondays, so you probably have more people going back to work on Mondays. than you would, like, say, a Tuesday, Wednesday, or even a Friday, right? Maybe that's Janine, I hate to put you on the spot, but what do you think? Do you think we see a little bit more flow on Mondays than we do like on a Friday?
We do see more flow. We do see more flow on Monday compared to a Friday, but the highest flow day of the week is actually Sunday.
Oh, okay.
Huh, no way. The more you know.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Well, that's interesting. Do you have any stories from high flow days, or like during Thanksgiving, what is the most flow you've seen, or Super Bowl was the most flow you've seen?
At Palmdale, we've seen close to 20 MGD.
So basically double the average is what we'll see.
Right. That was a few years back. This past Super Bowl Sunday, I believe we were at almost 15 MGD.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's a lot of flow.
A lot of flow.
Okay. All right. So let's see. All right. So after the secondary equalization basin, it then goes to the through filtration process. Now we want to filter out the water at this point, just to kind of, collect any microbe stragglers that may have made it through the secondary process, or anything that may have gotten in the water up to this point. And this is right before the disinfection stage right here. So we'll go ahead and talk a little about the filtration. So at Palmdale, we use cloth media filters for our filtration. Other plants may use gravity filters or pressure filters. There's different ways of doing the same thing. So if you're in a different city and you go visit their wastewater treatment plant, they all do the same thing. They just do it differently. All right. So here's a close-up of the cloth filters themselves. You can kind of see the water cascading down into the filters. And I got a video here that kind of shows how they work. So the water fills up and then it goes into the filter segments. Comes down, and then it gravity flows inside the filter itself. And then through this pipe in the center, and then out into the next process. And here's a close-up of the cloth filters themselves. You see they're just discs. There's a bunch of discs in line, and here's a close-up of what one looks like. If you're here for a physical tour, which we plan to resume here in the very near future, we bring these out, and you can actually put your hand on this and see what it feels like. If you rub your hand on it, it feels very much like carpet. It's very soft and fuzzy. And all right, so after the filters, then we go to disinfection. We go to the chlorination tanks. Here's an overview. And here's the overview of the disinfection tanks. And so the water spends roughly about 4 hours in these tanks for disinfection. So we use chlorine, put chlorine in here, and then we have a contact time that they maintain. And then after that contact time, then and then the water's disinfected at that point. So here's another shot. Does anybody, so if you notice on these tanks that we have them covered, anybody have any idea why we cover these tanks and maybe not the other tanks in the treatment process? Anybody want to take a guess? Anybody out there have pools?
Okay, so we have Juan who says the sun doesn't eat the chlorine, and Ava says to prevent things from falling in. Lily says so it doesn't evaporate.
Yes.
And last one, prevent particles from going in and contaminating it.
Yeah, all three. The biggest benefit is is the evaporation of chlorine, right? So chemicals are a major cost in a wastewater treatment plant. And so we don't want to put chlorine in there and then have it evaporated by the sun. And so by having these covers on there, it's a cost savings measure to keep the chlorine from evaporating. And it also protects the water from any debris or anything that may get dropped in the tank. So yes, very good. Thank you very much. Okay, here's a video of it. And here's the water itself as it's coming out. You can see it's very clean at this point. And so as you can see, it takes 12 hours for the water to be clean from the very front to the very back. So these two pictures here show what the water looked like as it came in. On the left is the raw wastewater, and on the right is the treated water. You can see it's very clean. And now that water's ready to be reused, beneficially reused for other purposes. Okay, and so with that, I will hand it back over to Basil.
Thank you. Thank you, John. Let's see. And I'm going to share my screen. So again, the challenge for our Antelope Valley treatment plants is a closed basin. So for the Palmdale plant, here's the water reclamation plant where my cursor is at, where the arrow is at. And then all the water has to be managed on land. So what we have, and the plant is completely surrounded by Los Angeles World Airport's Palmdale Regional Plant. So we've entered into a lease for land around us, and we use that land, we sublease that land to farmers. And as you can see from these circles, we're using this water to irrigate fodder crops. But in the winter months, when it's raining or evaporation rates are low, or the farmer doesn't need water, we have to store it per our permit. And the closest piece of land we could find to build storage reservoir is all the way over here. So we have 2 storage reservoirs, these diagonal looking thing. They can store almost 1 billion gallons of water, and we pump that water when we can't use it. We pump it all the way over here, miles and miles away. It's literally a 45-minute drive from the treatment plant, and we store it there until we need that water. And let's take a drone look at these storage reservoirs. So you can see the storage reservoirs here. They're quite long, and we store the tertiary effluent when it can't be used, and it can handle up to almost 1 billion gallons of water. And that water, but most of the water from the Lancaster plant is used for agricultural irrigation. Here's a close-up shot of the center pivot irrigation that we have around the plant. We have about 1,700 acres of land that's irrigated with recycled water. And when most people, when they're flying over Middle America, they see these crop circles, and these circles are created by these center pivot arm. I think you have a little video. So in the middle of, let's say, a quarter section, quarter of a mile section, you have the center, and this arm rotates like a clock's arm, and then their irrigation tubing drop down, and that's how the farm is able to irrigate using the recycled water. And here's a close-up shot of the center pivot irrigation system. You see the wheels, you see the nozzles where you're irrigating the fodder crop. So most of the water from that treatment plant, the Palmdale plant, is used for agricultural irrigation. A small portion is also used to irrigate McAdam Park in Palmdale. So we're trying to make sure, and anything that we can't use, and we irrigate at agronomic rates. So we irrigate at a rate that the crops can take up that water, and whatever is left over is stored in those reservoirs I showed you earlier. So that kind of tells you the whole Palmdale story from beginning to end, the water coming in. We treat it in about 10 to 12 hours, and then we use it for recycling. We use it for agricultural irrigation mainly, but whatever uses that also pop up, we're really open to that. We use that water for that. With that, just thank you for attending, and we will take questions. We'll leave this up for a little bit. So if you have any questions for John or you can use the email addresses here. So Genesis, are there any questions?
Yes, there's one question. And by the way, if you guys have any questions, please put them in the Q&A feature that's located at the bottom of your screen, or you can also use the raise hand feature as well. So one of the questions that we got, and maybe John can answer this one, what is the benefit of ferric on digester influent?
Yeah, so the ferric is used to control hydrogen sulfides in the digester itself, or the digester gas. So we that's one of the one of the gas, or one of the products that's produced during the digestion process. And so by using ferric, it controls that hydrogen sulfide.
Okay, and the next one is, what is the facility on Avenue S? Is it part of the Palmdale plant?
I'm sorry, I don't know which facility is being referred to. I don't believe we have any facilities on Avenue S.
All right. Next one is, do you burn digester gas?
Yes. Thank you for asking that question. So we produce methane in our digesters, right? And methane is considered a greenhouse gas. And so part of our permitting process will have to destruct that gas. So we use that gas to heat the boilers, which then in turn heats the digesters. It keeps the digesters hot. If we have excess gas, then we flare it off, we burn it off, and so it destructs that methane, so that it's no longer a threat to the environment.
Okay, great, thanks. Then our next question is from Ms. Kuzo. Is any of the effluent released into any body of water?
You want me to take that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the Palmdale plant is very, very unique. There's no river or body of water it can discharge to. So it either has to be land applied or stored. So it makes for really thorough and complete accounting. John and Janine and all the folks work there. They keep track of every drop comes in and where every drop should go.
Awesome. Part of what makes Antelope Valley so unique. All right, so next question from Joanne. What is the strangest or weirdest thing you've had happen at a facility?
Genesis, we could talk about what we
I
found in
love
the
all
primary.
these curious. I love all these curious questions.
Yeah, no,
I
they're
love
great
it when
questions.
we get there. You guys are looking for drama.
Genesis,
Okay.
remember what we found in the primary tanks a few years back?
To be honest, I do not. I have no idea.
Yeah, we did a story on it. So we found a dog in the primary tanks.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yeah. So when the operators
Lucky.
came in the morning, and when he was doing his rounds, he was at the primary tanks, and he heard a noise. He looked down in there, and he saw this dog in there swimming. And the dog had apparently been in there the majority of the night. So, we don't know how the dog got in, but he got in there, and we don't know how he got in the primary tanks, but he ended up in the primary tanks. And so we rescued the dog and cleaned him up. And then we brought him to a local shelter where they took care of the dog, and the dog was adopted out. So it was a nice ending to a story. So that was one of the odd things I remember.
And we named the dog.
Oh, I don't remember.
Oh, come on. That was the cutest. Okay, Lucky.
Lucky, there you go. Yes.
Lucky,
That's right.
like the Britney Spears song. Lucky. Okay, so do we have any more questions? I think that ended up being the one. Oh, we got, oh, do we get people that flush animals like snakes or fish?
I have not seen any myself. Janine, have you seen anything? No?
No, not at Palmdale. At another facility, I saw a goldfish one time that came through.
Okay.
Oh, so that's another PSA. Do not flush your animals down the toilet. I think Finding Nemo, a lot of people thought that they'd be saving their fish if they flush them down the toilet, but do not. They will probably immediately die, right?
Right.
Years ago, when I was working at Orange County as an intern, I was going through the screen structure they had there, and coming up on the screens was I think it was a $5 bill, and so it was caught in the screens. And as a poor intern, college student, I contemplated maybe reaching in there, grabbing it. I didn't though, but that was one thing I remember seeing that came into the wastewater treatment plant.
Okay, that answers our other question. If we've seen any other weird things there or odd. Okay, so next question. Are you connected to the aqueduct?
No, we're not connected to the aqueduct. So as Basil mentioned, we use we reuse water for agricultural and also parks.
Okay, perfect. And that is it. That's the last of our questions. If anyone wants to raise their hand, answer live, we can do that too. Sorry, Janine, you were saying something?
I have the answer to that question on Avenue S. That's the freshwater treatment plant.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey,
so that's drinking water treatment plant.
Hey, so before we go, Janine, can you talk a little bit about how you became an operator, or how a person can go, or the pathway to become an operator?
Sure. So you need to do a couple classes through the Ken Carey program. It's through the University of Sacramento. You just go online, order the books, and the classes come with the books. You get a certificate at the end. A lot of local colleges also do the Ken Carey programs. ABC College does, COC does, and then some colleges down below like Rio Honda. And then from there, you can apply to take your state exam through the State Water Resources Control Board. And you can get your grade 1 exam. And when you become an operator, you become certified. And then you can apply to the district. Okay.
So take a couple of classes, take your grade 1 exam, make application, and start working for the districts. So what is the starting pay of an operator? Do you have to know offhand? I think it's around 60 or 70K a year.
It is. I just don't know the exact amount.
Yeah, I don't either. But still, you know.
John with all the tough questions.
I don't know.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
So
it is a good paying job.
Awesome. So someone's asking where we can find the recording. So this tour will be uploaded to our YouTube account by Monday, so you can go there. I'm pretty sure it'll be there before then, but by Monday, go to our YouTube channel and also follow us. And I'll put the link in the chat, but it's our YouTube channel, Los Angeles County Sanitation Districts. You can view this tour, and then you can also view a bunch of other tours. Anything else, Basil?
Yeah, I think someone wanted the final slide up again. Do you have a Genesis, or should I try to share that?
You can try and share it.
Let me see if I can share.
While you're bringing that up, can I do a quick plug on the sewer science program?
Yes, go for it.
Yeah, so the sanitation districts has a sewer science program where we will go into the classroom and we'll actually treat simulated wastewater. So we'll go into the classroom with the students. It's very interactive. We'll create simulated wastewater, and then we'll bring it through the treatment processes and, start to finish, all, from the very beginning to the very end. We also bring in live microbes that eat the waste, so the students can see that happen. And we do lab testing as well along the way, so the students can see how the true process is progressing. And all of that costs nothing, and the district brings in all the equipment, all supplies, everything. So it's a great program. And if you're interested, you go to the district's website and send us an email. Let us know you're interested.
So since John is plugging sewer science, I want to plug our tour program. We also have an extensive tour program, especially for kids, high school kids, middle school kids in our service area. And so you can reach us at info@lacsd.org. And it's a great way to get kids exposed to careers in water and wastewater, whether it be an engineer or a chemist or an operator. And so we have that tour program where John or Janine or one of us or Genesis would give you a tour of our facilities. And we're coming out of this pandemic, so we're starting to do tours again. So feel more than we encourage you to reach out to us, and we can give your school or your group a tour of the Palmdale plant or a Lancaster plant. Anything else I can plug, Genesis? HHW, I think
Sure.
about that.
No, I plugged HHW. You have all the HHW information in the chat. Remember the AVEC Center? It's located on 1200 West City Ranch Road in Palmdale, open every first and third Saturday of the month. Right now we're on the 2nd, so you'll have to wait for next Saturday. And it's open from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And yeah, if you know of any students in high school and you have the sewer science program, don't be surprised if you see John walk into your classroom one day. It's pretty great.
I hope he's a good teacher.
He is a good teacher.
Okay. And then I guess the
never
last
been.
thing is next week, we'll do a virtual tour of the Lancaster plant with John and I guess Alfonso, the operator at that plant. So more crazy fun at our Antelope Valley water reclamation plant awaits you next week.
All right, awesome. So if you have any friends in Lancaster, be sure to let them know. You can find more information at lacsd.org/tours. And I put that in the chat as well. And I think with that, we'll let you guys go. And thank you for joining us on this wonderful Saturday.
Yeah,
And
thank you.
see you on the next one.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. Have a great weekend.
Bye.
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 Bye.